to another episode of the Leveraging Gifts podcast. I'm your host, Anquilla Bellow. Join us weekly as we explore the 6 pillars of success: faith, time, health, connections, money, and your genius. I believe that each of these pillars are gifts that we can leverage to aid us in creating a life filled with greater impact, influence, and income. So come along on the journey as we leverage our gifts. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of the Leveraging Gifts podcast. I'm your host, Anquilla Bellow. Today, I really wanted to get into the idea of applying biblical principles to our lives. There are a lot of biblical principles and promises that believers tend to not apply to their lives. And everybody else is applying these principles all the time and living their best life, and where a lot of believers are standing around sometimes not very happy, other times a little bitter and upset that the rest of the world is prospering from biblical principles. But the problem is you don't put those principles into action. You know they exist. You may quote them. You may say them. You may run and shout and jump, but you don't actually take the principles and make them practical and use them in your life. And the principles of God are to be used, not just said. They're to be put into work. We are to activate them if we want to see results from them. Oftentimes, we don't do that. One of my favorite principles is speak those things that be not as though they were. We say it, but do we understand it? We say it, but do we put it into action? Probably not. But if you think about it, everybody else does, because why? It tells us that life and death is in the power of the tongue. The rest of the world uses it all the time. They know what to say and what not to say when it comes to speaking things over their lives. They don't have time for that. Like, I'm not about to speak doom and gloom over my life, but these believers, y'all be over here saying all kind of crazy stuff. And then you're looking at everybody else wondering how are they prospering when they're quote unquote unbelievers. Because they use the principles, because the principles work regardless of what they believe. They actually work. And ask me how I know. I know what I'm talking about, because that's where affirmations come from. That's why people write affirmations about the things that they want to happen in their lives. They write affirmations about the businesses that they want, how they want to run their business. They write affirmations about the type of spouse that they're looking for. They write affirmations about their kids and the schools that they go to and how they learn and how they progress. They write affirmations about their money and how they're utilizing it. And that is the very principle of speak those things that be not as though they were. You're speaking and you're believing that what you're saying is actually what is there. So in the coaching world, we do this thing where you have certain things that you stand in the mirror and you recite to yourself over and over again. And eventually it becomes a part of who you are. It sinks into your mind and you understand who you are and whose you are and how important you are. All of those things everybody else uses except for the believer. But they're right in the Bible, but we don't make them practical. We think that we got to shout and fall out and run around the church. I'm not telling you not to do that, but there are some very practical things that you can do every single day to allow you to see progress in your life. But we get so caught up in the feeling of deliverance or the feeling of connecting with Christ that we miss the practical that manifests in our lives on a day-to-day when we put it into action, the practical that leads to results, the practical that takes that feeling and amplify it because you know it to be true. You're not crying and running and desiring for it to be true and saying, ooh, that felt good to my soul. It felt good to your spirit, man, but you know it to be true because you know that you sat in front of that mirror every day for the last 60 days and you recited certain things to yourself. And as you said those things over and over again, you begin to see them manifest in your life. You know that if you dealt with low self-esteem and didn't like the way you looked, that every day you stood in that mirror and you pointed out something amazing about your features for the last 90 days. And then you begin to see how beautiful you really are. All those old thoughts that were in your mind begin to fall away and your mind begin to be renewed. You understand it because you're putting them into practice. It's so many principles that we're not putting into practice. And if we could just sit down and really open up the word of God and not go to it saying, okay, God, I'm in lack right now and I need a word. Or, okay, God, I'm depressed right now and I need a word. If we could really go to the word of God and say, okay, God, what are your promises? What are your principles that you've outlined in this word? Where are they and what are they? And you can highlight them. You can say, okay, God, now make this practical so that I can apply it to my life right now. So that I can apply it to my life moving forward and begin to see the change, begin to see how things shift because I'm actually applying your word. Why do you think he told Joshua to meditate on this book of law day and night? Because if we meditate on the things that he's already said in the word day and night, if we're sitting down and we're envisioning those things, if we're seeing it, what can happen? God spoke and the world was created. He said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be light. Do you realize we have that same authority? Because the Holy Spirit lives inside of us. We have that same authority. The word even tells us whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose in heaven will be loosed on earth. So if we were to really sit down and get those things and make them practical and go, okay, God, I want a house. I want a house. I desire a house. And I mean, in Proverbs 31 woman, she saw a land, she liked it, and she bought it, right? So we should buy land. We know this. And if you really thought that and you had a picture in your mind of the house that you wanted and you envisioned it, and then you begin to say to yourself, I'm a homeowner. I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to get more house than what they think I could afford for what I have. I'm going to get more for it. I'm going to keep declaring it until it becomes a possibility, until it becomes a reality. As a business owner, it might just be my business is filled with resourceful, ready, and willing clients. And you say it over and over again every single day. But then there's two parts to this. We're releasing things. We're declaring things. We're binding things up. We're speaking those things that be not as though they were. So we're speaking them into existence. But then we got to work for it too. Because faith without works is a dead. And that's the trap that so many believers fall into. They have all the faith in the world to believe that God gonna do it. And be like, God gonna do it, gonna do it, gonna do it. Okay. But what did you do? What did you do? Did you do anything? If I recall, when the famine was in the land, Joseph had a plan. After Pharaoh told him his dream and God gave him the interpretation of that dream, he had a plan on, how to store up the resources. He didn't just say, okay, well, we know the dream. We're just going to have faith that God going to store these resources. No, he put a plan together. We can look at Jericho all day because that was a very interesting story of how that wall fell down, right? But they still did something. God gave them a plan and they didn't sit there and say, okay, God, you gave us a plan. We're just going to sit here and expect it to happen. What? No, they executed the plan. They went and walked around the wall for 6 days. On the seventh day, they shouted. Like they followed the plan. There was faith, but there was works. When Nehemiah went back to build the wall, he asked to go back. He asked for money, but he had a plan. When he got there, he started building the wall. He didn't just believe he was going to get the money and do nothing. So we have a problem because we speak, we believe, we declare. Some of us, we're using affirmations and we're doing the work and we're journaling and we're writing all the things, but we ain't doing nothing. We just got faith. But where are the works? Where's the action? Faith is the belief, but where is the action? There is none. Yep. There's no action. You're just believing. Okay. While you're believing, Sarah's over there building that table. While you're believing, Felicia's out here marketing her business. While you're believing, Dan is over there saving his money to buy his house. You had the faith that you would get more house for your money, but you ain't even went and fill out the loan yet. You had the faith that you would buy a house with no down payment, but you haven't even begun to do the research on down payment assistance programs or any other program that can allow you to buy a house for 100% financing. Are there loans out there that offer 100% financing? Maybe there are, but you're not doing the work. But you got all the faith that it's going to go down, right? And you know what tends to happen? You look up 5 years later, you're in the same spot. But every person that took action, they're 10 steps ahead. And you're trying to figure out, God, why didn't it happen for me, but it happened for my brother Billy, and my brother Billy don't even go to church. My brother Billy don't even know you. But Billy was out here working. Billy was out here putting his faith into action. Yeah. faith into action. That's what it's all about. We can have all the belief in the world, but if we never take action, we won't accomplish anything. We won't hit our goals. We won't hit these major milestones and ideas that we have in our minds. You can have all the faith in the world that you're going to get into the PhD program, but if you don't fill out the application, how you going to get in? How do the people even know that you want to get into the program? You ain't filled out a single application. So please explain, because I want to know. Please. It's not going to happen. You got to fill the application out. So we have to learn to use these principles, and we have to learn to put faith into action. Yes, we believe, but we take that belief and we pair it with action. It's not one or the other. It's not either or. It's both and. It's belief and action. It's faith and works. They go hand in hand. We got to get better with that, because we ask God to deliver us so many times. I don't know. Maybe you're going through something financial and you're like, God, I need your help. Deliver me. Give me a financial breakthrough. And he gives you this amazing idea and you do nothing with it. And God is like, but that was going to give you the financial breakthrough. Like, he gave you the wood. Go build the table. He's not going to build the table for you. I remember it was this message that T.D. Jakes preached, and he was essentially talking about that. Like, we're praying to God, asking for all of these things, like, God, deliver me. God, set me free. God, I need this. God, I need that. And God is like, here's the wood. Here are the tools. Go build the table. And we're sitting there looking up to the sky like, okay, God, is the table just going to fall down? I thought a table was just going to fall out the sky. Like, you was going to open it up. There was going to be a portal. We were going to all think the aliens was coming from Endgame. No, that's not what's going to happen. No portal, no aliens, nothing like that. So what you're saying is, I have to take this wood and I have to take these tools and I have to do the work to get the result. Ugh, I don't know about that, God. Okay. You go ahead and keep sitting in that closet praying, because he gave you something to do and you didn't do it. But you want God to bless you. You want him to prosper you. You ain't giving him nothing to bless. Even if the table comes out ugly, which it might, because you've never built a table before. Somebody might like that ugly table and pay you a whole bunch of money for it, but you gave him something to bless. This table is hideous. However, /comma, this person over here is like, the table is horrible, but I see where you were going. You have an artistic eye for design. Do you have any other designs? And then maybe you open up your sketchbook and you are able to show them all the designs that you have. And they're like, wow, you can't build, but you can design. And then they hire you to be on their team. But guess what? You built the ugly table first. You took action first. And you took action. He saw that you took action. And he said, you're giving me something to bless. You had faith that even though it was sloppy progress, even though it looked bad, even though people probably are going to talk about it, you still moved. You had faith to say, all right, God, I'm going to do this. And I know that you're going to do your part because I did my part. We got to remember that when we talk about these principles, because yes, we can declare. I 100% believe in using affirmations and visualization and declaring and decreeing and changing your mindset and journaling and doing all the things to get your inner being to where it needs to be, so that the soul part of you can align with the spirit part of you, because your spirit already believes. It's this sinful nature of us that a lot of times don't believe. But your spirit already knows what's possible. So yeah, when you can work on that soul and get that soul together, and your soul can be like, okay, yeah, I know this is gonna work, and you do it, and God sees that you're doing it, he can be like, okay, I can bless that. I can put my stamp on that. I can amplify that. I can push that in front of other people. I can elevate that, because she's moving. She's doing. She's believing. And that's where it all begins. It all begins with the believing, the doing, the declaring. When we can believe and we can do, and we can wrap up all these different principles and really start to utilize them practically, not super spiritually. Oh, some of y'all just so deep. Sometimes you're just too deep. You're just too deep. But when you can step up out the water for a little bit, step up out of the water and look at the principles and understand the principles and understand them practically and start putting them into action in your life, things can change. I challenge you to go back and look at your goals and find something that you wrote down that you said you wanted to do this year that you haven't accomplished yet. It could be something small. It doesn't have to be anything large. It can be, I want to start working out 3 times a week. That's my challenge to myself. I want to lose weight, but I cannot get this weight off my body, y'all. That's another episode for another time, but it's weight that's on my body that needs to come up off. It's not going to come off by me praying about it, by me talking about it, by me believing that it's going to fall off if I don't get my butt up and start exercising. If I don't actively change my bad eating habits that I developed during 2020, we're not going to go back there, but yes, my bad eating habits that I developed during that time to cope with what was happening in the world. If I don't get rid of those habits and go back to eating a healthier diet, if I don't put in the time to move my body and exercise, if I don't do anything to move myself closer towards the goal where I would like to be weight-wise and where I'm comfortable at and where all my clothes would fit me at, they're just going to be a dream, a thought, an idea in my head because I'm not putting in any action towards that goal. To hold myself accountable to this goal, I am committing to eating clean every day. I need to do that. And I'm committing to moving, like doing some type of physical exercise at a minimum of 3 times a week. Like that's the minimum. I can do more, but I cannot do less. And I'm going to share it with you all on Instagram. Help keep me accountable by following along and checking in if you would like. But I'm going to challenge you to find a goal. It doesn't have to be a goal that's going to take you 30 days to accomplish. It can be something that'll take you a week to accomplish. It could be something like reorganizing your finances. Whatever it is, find a goal. Share that goal with us on Instagram. I'll put a post up on Instagram so you can comment under the post or you can put it on your stories and tag me. But I'm going to ask, what goal are you committed to accomplishing over the next 30 days? So you got time. It could be the next 7 days or it could be the next 30 days. Got it? We need to build this action muscle. I want to know what it is. And I would really like to challenge you to do something scary, but we might not get there yet. Let's build the muscle by doing something a little bit easier, but finding out what that goal is that you're going to commit to doing and sharing with us over on Instagram so that we can cheer you on, we can check in with you, and we can help hold you accountable to that goal. And we're going to build this muscle of taking action. We can have all the faith in the world, but if we don't move and we don't take action, we're not doing anything. We have all this faith and belief that God can do anything, but we won't utilize it on this side of eternity. We won't put it towards something so we can actually accomplish some things and leave a legacy, because that's what it's all about. What type of legacy will you leave behind? And if you're never taking action, you're going to leave a legacy behind of a person that never did anything? Whether you leave a positive legacy or a negative legacy, you always leave a legacy. You always leave a legacy. So there's always something that someone's going to say about you, what you did or didn't do. So if you want to leave a legacy that's impactful, one that influences people to do great things, then you got to get used to taking action. You got to get used to making sloppy progress. You got to get used to doing things that scared the bejesus out of you. And this makes me think about one of my favorite books. It's Bamboozled by Jesus by Yvonne Orji. And Yvonne is an actress. She was on Insecure and some other stuff. But that book, one, I love her. So I'm going to probably talk about this on Instagram and tag her. I freaking love that book. And I love her as a comedian. Every time I go on a road trip, I have to listen to that book. So if you don't have it, you should get it. In that book, she's talking about how she was bamboozled into the life of her dreams. And she started taking crazy, stupid, doesn't make any sense action. Whenever she felt that God was sending her or pushing her into a direction or he gave her an idea, she took action on that stuff. And that led her into the life of her dreams. Even though there were times when she was upset and she was crying and she was like, really, God, you brought me out here to do this? But she still kept taking action. And because she kept taking action when it was scary, when it was uncomfortable, when it seemed a little bit stupid, she has achieved so many great things. And that's what I want for each of you. Heck, that's what I want for myself. So you will see me taking stupid, crazy action. This podcast it wasn't crazy, but it was me taking action. Like, you know what? You need to do this podcast. That's the same thing for you. There's something you're not taking action on. And if you want to look back in 10 years and have a story to tell, you got to take action. We look at other people and their 10-year success and they're writing books and telling stories. And we're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that one day. But they took action. They took action 9 years ago. And that led them to where they are now in year 10. People don't want to know your story until you win. They don't want to know about your struggle until you have come out on the other side. When you cross the finish line, then they're like, oh, well, what did you do to get there? But while you're still running, they might. If you're sharing the journey, then some people will come along for it. But for the most part, everybody wants to know, how did you get over that finish line? So if you want to tell your story, if you want to tell the victory of what happened, of how you were bamboozled into the life of your dreams, You got to take action to get there. I'm challenging you. Take action. Take massive, crazy, stupid action, and then couple it with your faith and watch how your life propels you forward. That's it for today. Until next time, may your gifts make room for you.